most people, this is just a steel chair. To wrestling fans, it's one of the most recognizable weapons in wrestling history. But it wasn't always that way. Today we're gonna go back to the 1990s ECW and show how one simple folding chair changed professional wrestling forever. Why the chair? Before ECW, chairs existed in wrestling for decades. Villains usually used it and it caused automatic disqualifications, but it was rare, it was shocking. And fans knew if a chair appeared, the match had broken down. The wrestlers even got charged criminally sometimes for using a steel chair. But ECW changed everything. In the Philadelphia arena, mid-1990s, with a small budget, Paul Heyman couldn't compete with WWF or WCW financially, had to be different. And the solution to that being different was hardcore. And because there was chairs everywhere, they were cheap, they were loud, and they looked devastating. And every wrestler could use one. If you could swing something, you could use a steel chair. And it wasn't just furniture anymore. It became part of ECW's identity. And some of these wrestlers took that identity and became innovators. Wrestlers like the one and only Terry Funk. He didn't just swing chairs. Sometimes he would throw them. Sometimes he wrapped them around his opponents. And he even wore them around his neck. This created complete chaos. The chair became part of the real fight. Guys like Cactus Jack, they used chair to tell stories and took unbelievable punishment, but they also used it as anti-hardcore storyline. Sometimes he refused to use the chair, and other times he absorbed horrific punishment. The chair wasn't just about violence, it was about psychology and get the fans involved in what you were doing. And the tag team, Public Enemy, used multiple chair spots. They had furniture and everything all over the ring. They revolutionized hardcore tag team wrestling with the chair. The ring became a battlefield and it definitely looked like one. Teams like the Gangsters, they were fast, they were violent, they had this Street Fighter feeling. They used chairs as props, but they weren't just props, they were real weapons. New Jack was known for using these to inflict actual pain on his opponents. Guys like Tommy Dreamer, who took punishment and never quit. Fans believed every chair shot mattered because it did in his matches. Guys like the Sandman, you had crowd entrance, he has the beer, he had the Singapore cane, but he also used the chairs when fans would hand it to him. Because chairs were anywhere, everywhere, the audience became part of the violence and the action. And the one and only Sabu. Sabu was one of the biggest innovators of the chair because he completely reinvented how to use it. He didn't just hit people, he hit people with chairs, he jumped off them, springboarded off them, used them as launchpad, changed wrestling forever in the way we use the steel chair. And I think Sabu was one of the most biggest innovators of the folding steel chair and how it was used in the 1990s and beyond. And if we go back to House Party 1996, everything was connected there because it was Public Enemy's farewell rivalry with the Gangsters. It turned into a chair war. It was the classic ECW chaos. And this was where all the ideas collided, where Paul Heyman was looking for. He was looking for making this hardcore identity, and that's one of the matches that really drew fans in. And if you're following my ECW Deep Dive series, this is exactly why I'm reviewing every single ECW event. In order, the link to watch that will be above me somewhere. It was so great that WWF even copied it in the Attitude Era. They had the Hardcore Championship. They had the tables, ladders, and chairs. They had the chairs became a mainstream with Jeff Hardy and Edge and Christian. This little company from Philadelphia changed wrestling forever with this iconic weapon, the steel chair. But there is a dark side to the steel chair. Headshots, concussions, safety issues. Modern wrestling has changed, and today's wrestlers can still tell incredible stories without taking unprotected chair shots and taking unnecessary risks with the chair shots. So what did I learn through my deep dive into the history of the steel chair? I had no idea that chairs went back to the 1940s. I had no idea how much psychology existed around it. Every legend used them differently. The chairs wasn't just a story. The wrestlers are what made the chairs important. I pick up. And next week, we're gonna talk about one of the other iconic weapons in ECW and hardcore history. We're gonna be talking about the one and only Singapore cane. I'm Danny Deathwish. This has been Hardcore History and What It Takes. What iconic weapon do you want me to talk about next? We'll dive into that next time. See you guys in the next video.